And then there was Gail. I mean, she worked there 32 years, and she had this incredible ability to pepper her conversation with stories of recovery. So she would talk about people who'd had far worse strokes than I had getting better. So this, of course, reinforced any sense of hope, possibility of getting better. And then finally, I mean, there were many, and I could talk for a long time, but these are the ones I kind of want to highlight. Then the last one I'd like to highlight is a lady called Rita. And Rita was the dietitian. She was of Mediterranean descent and had this incredible kind of natural warmth. And she'd walk into my room, and she'd kind of glow care. And I watched her in the ward that she had, again I use the word intuition. She had this intuition on how to kind of navigate her language and her voice tone and her body in order to build the best possible rapport with some very, very sick, often elderly patients. And I think I was talking earlier with I think with you, Alison, about what fascinates me about this whole experience is about there are models of excellence here. And how might we be able to tap into those and understand those who are really outstanding in what they do is actually kind of chip down into the granularity of it. So what are their beliefs, what are their skills, what are their behaviours, how we might be able to kind of chunk those down and give those elements to others who really are struggling. And then in contrast, those who aren't so good, and there were, I mean, you know, we're all human, there were times when I would see nurses on the ward be a bit grumpy or a little bit maybe off. But I think what's interesting when you see this happening, and of course, again, we were talking about this, how the press highlight this sort of thing about indifference and coldness and lack of compassion, is what's running here? What are the kind of programs that are running here? And how we might be able to interrupt them and replace them with better programs. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then just a final point. How am I doing on time? Because I'm okay, am I? Yeah, I'm all right on time. One of the other things I think which I've noticed, which is kind of reinforced from the beginning of this year, is I was very honoured to be a guest speaker, workshop presenter at a conference earlier this year. It was called Instilling a Coaching Culture within the NHS at British Medical Association House. And the chair opened the conference and she said, "Where's David?" And I put my hand up. And she said, "David is a great example of coaching himself to wellness." And I actually never thought of myself as that. But as I delivered the workshop, what it got me thinking about is the whole framework, how we might be able to use the framework of coaching in order to draw out better models of excellence, to draw out the Ritas, to draw out the Gales, to draw out the Pavlos. And what is it? I mean, here are my suggestions, and I know it's very complex, is about getting health professionals to ask the right questions. I think it's about focus. I really do. Where is your focus of attention? And I do this in some of my training. When you walk into a room with a patient, where is your focus? What's going on inside your head? What's running in your body? Where's your energy level? And I gave the example of Will Wallace, who walked in. And he didn't say very much, but he made me feel better. Why did he make me feel better? Because his focus was on me, not on what he had to do in half an hour's time, or the invoice that he hadn't paid, or the round of golf he was going to pay, or whatever. It was me. The focus was completely on me. And the same with my physios, and the same with the nurses that I cited. And here's one great example of working with someone who was really outstanding in what she did. She was an outstanding physiotherapist. And I was running a workshop, and she actually volunteered to come up because she had been struggling with a patient, a very, very disabled stroke patient. And despite her level of expertise, she felt really, really stuck. So I ran this exercise called perceptual positions. I don't know if anybody is familiar with this. Okay. And it works like this. You have 3 chairs. And one chair represents your world. The second chair represents the patient's world. And the third chair represents the observer, or I like to call the observer White Owl. Okay. So I got, let's call her Sarah for the purpose of this illustration. I got Sarah to sit in her chair and to talk about the frustrations with the stroke patient. Let's call him Fred. And she couldn't seem to get beyond this frustration. Fred was very incontinent. He was quite angry. Sometimes he would get aggressive. And she was just stuck. So I said, okay, Sarah, I want you to stand up and I want you actually to shake off your world as Sarah. And I want you to step into the world of Fred. And I want you to sit in Fred's seat. And I want you to be Fred. And I want you to see the world through Fred's eyes. And there were about 45 people in that room. And it went very quiet. And I couldn't quite see why it went very quiet at one point. There was a kind of few seconds. And I noticed that there were tears coming down Sarah's face. And she said, now I realise what I need to do differently. So then I said, okay, I could see she would go up. So I said, okay, stand up, just shake off this distress. I want you to move across to the observer chair. And all this insight came out. And she came back and sat in her chair, and she was clearly a lot happier. And the network director was sitting at the back of the chair. And he said, in a really nice way, he said, do you mean to say by sitting on 3 different chairs you actually got a different perspective? And she said, yeah. And that's just one example, and it worked for her. But really, in conclusion, the point I'm making is about how might health professionals who are really struggling with the type of problems that you're talking about step into the world of the patient, live that for a few seconds, and get insights that will enable them to do things differently. Yeah. And just to give you hope, because I know that there are a number of incidents, and I read your extract and felt quite depressed. It is about what those who aren't doing it so well, I believe, is just a habit. So if we do something between 16 and 21 times, it becomes a habit. So conversely, if we do new stuff, and we think new things, and we do it for between 16 and 21 times, that too can become a habit. So there is great hope. I'd just like to conclude. I think what would be really nice to conclude is, as I explained, I kept an extensive diary and journal, and you were asking me what was the difference of the diary and what was the difference of the journal. Well, the diary was chronological, so I'd note down what happened each day and the good stuff and so on. And the journal, when I had a brainwave or about something, a model or something, then I would write that down. And this paragraph I fell upon just by accident, and it really is, it kind of sums up what you want to hear, and I thought it'd be a nice way to close. So here goes. I had been in hospital for 2 weeks now after having had a stroke which took out the best part of my right side. As I'm sure you appreciate, not being able to go to the toilet by myself, have a shower, get dressed, fetch my clothes, etc., I have required an enormous amount of help. I must say the nurses, the carers and the physio have been nothing short of outstanding. They have been my arms and legs over this period, and at no time have I been made to feel that I was a nuisance or too demanding in wanting to fulfill these basic needs. It is a tough brief. They come on at 8 a.m. in the morning, at first just before and just before 8 p.m. at night. It is a long haul, and I have been amazed at their good humour, patience, and above all, the very caring approach to their work. Not so long ago, I had run a teleseminar with Leslie Everett on professional branding. Leslie had been highlighting the importance of congruence when people carry out their day-to-day role. I was saying to Leslie that the hard-working team of carers really did provide great models of this. One lady, Gail, who used to shower me in the morning, has done this work for 32 years. She still had a lovely smile in the morning, always had a great bubbly approach to her work. Pavlo, who worked very long shifts and weekends, had a 1.5-hour journey each way to work at the top of his 12-hour shifts. Again, always a lovely, caring way in everything he did. This makes me cry emotional reading this. I said to Leslie that I thought of Marshall Goldsmith from the New York Professional Speakers Conference when he asked us to think about the time when we will go and meet our Maker, then to review all the achievements we have made during our life. Would we be happy with what we had achieved? I said these people would sure to be happy with what they'd done, all the people that they had cared for, all the people whose lives they had helped to piece back together. What a wonderful feeling it must be to have made a contribution to so many lives. Each and every one, I say, this experience has changed my life so much to appreciate the very beautiful things in life, not to take for granted the very basic gifts that God has given us, being able to walk, talk, hear, sense, etc. What can you take from this story? Well, ask yourself when you wake up, what can I be grateful for? What can I focus on? And how lucky I am. Look at the physios. I think they are magicians. The way they look for new signals in the body to see if there is any movement in the muscles. If I am a physio, piecing together so many lives, getting them their normal lives back together. What an amazing thing. Thank you. If there's time, I'm happy. Thank you so much. A real honour again. Thank you. If there's a few minutes, I'm happy to take questions. Yeah.